Support WrestleTalk!
Share this video on social media. Thanks for your support on Patreon. The Blakey Craftsman Blakiner. What does the cryptic message in Bray Wyatt's latest Firefly Funhouse really mean? Stone Cold Steve Austin returns to Raw, and great wrestling everywhere. And has Goldberg's next match been leaked? Click the timestamps in the video description below to go straight to any of those stories and learn more. I'm Ollie Davis. Give us a subscribe, press the thumbs up button, and answer our question of the day in the comments. Who will win WWE's King of the Ring 2019? Because I'll be replying to people from out of nowhere saying King Corbin sucks. All hail King Corbin. And click the eye above my head to give your rating of the show, where you can choose from Rawsome, Core, Average, Poor, and Rawful, as I review the 9th of September episode of Monday Night Raw. To kick off the show, live from Madison Square Garden, Stone Cold Steve Austin made his long-awaited return to WWE for the first time in, well, just over a month since the Raw reunion. And a few weeks ago when he phoned in on Skype. Austin reminisced about the great moments he's had at MSG, wrestling Bret the Hitman Hart, giving Vince McMahon his first ever stunner, and likely suffering a concussion from The Undertaker. Simpler times, when concussions weren't that controversial. He was out there to mediate the Universal Championship contract signing between Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins, and also to sell more tickets. Everything that Austin did was warmly naturalistic. Unfortunately, Rollins and Strowman have about as much on-screen chemistry right now as, well, Rollins and his real-life fiancée Becky Lynch. Thankfully, AJ Styles' tremendous heel act brought the segment back to life, brilliantly soaking up the crowd chanting "what" and "asshole." And then after Rollins and Braun brawled with Gallows and Anderson outside, AJ walked right into a Stone Cold Stunner, which Styles sold so well, even Rock the Dwayne Johnson endorsed it, tweeting, "Real talk, that stunner back bump, flip into a scissor emoji, sell was a thing of beauty." God, I can't wait for AJ versus Austin at Clash of Champions this week. Oh god damn it, it's Braun versus Seth. Styles was still selling the stunner for his match against Cedric Alexander next. Usually that would be backwards psychology, having a heel sell an injury from the start, but AJ is such an effective bad guy, you just want to see him getting beaten up more. The two didn't get to have the kind of match that's in them, because this was more about setting up the main event. Gallows and Anderson beat up Cedric for the DQ, which brought out the Viking, "Don't mention the war experience!" Raiders for the save, booking a big 10-man tag main event between Rollins, Braun, Cedric and the Raiders against the OC and Rudolph the Impromptu Tag Team. Roman Reigns then came out to celebrate a group of pediatric cancer sufferers from right here in New York. Cheap pop. This was genuinely really sweet, made even more impactful by Roman's own battle with leukemia. Then came an excellent 20-minute tag match between Becky Lynch and Charlotte against the newly heel tag team of Sasha Banks and Bayley. From the opening brawl on the ramp through to the quadruple down spots, this match had a big-time feel with the star power in the ring, with the intensity and character history behind all four wrestlers significantly enhancing the action. I wouldn't have had the baby faces win though, with Charlotte pinning Bayley with the natural selection. Sasha and Bayley's newly heel momentum would have felt like even more of a threat if they won here. And Charlotte and Becky don't lose anything because they're meant to hate each other anyway. How are they coexisting as a team? After that really enjoyable tag, we then got a surprise Lucha Dream match with Rey Mysterio taking on Gran Metalik, who might have been booked as a joke in WWE, but is one of the best high flyers in the world. Metalik lived up to his King of the Ropes name by hitting multiple springboards, but Rey picked up the win, starting his redemption arc. The Street Profits are so good in their role, they made advertising Clash of Champions matches feel fun. Then came the King of the Ring Raw semi-final match, a three-way between Baron Corbin, Samoa Joe and Ricochet, after the latter two had a double pin last week. That Joe and Ricochet are fantastic is no surprise. Corbin getting dueling "Let's go Corbin, Corbin sucks" chants, however, is pretty unprecedented. After almost a year of being overpushed as a dominating heel in main event after main event, Corbin has now settled back into a far more effective mid-card slot, and as a result, he's now getting appropriate heel heat as opposed to the go-away kind. And he's going all the way to the final as he threw Ricochet out the ring after hitting a 630 on Joe and stole the victory. Because not even the King of the Ring final can escape the pull of Baron Corbin's Midgard Vortex! off after Lacey Evans used the handkerchief of doom. In the finish of last week's match, Natalya got her win back here. These two actually work really well together, mostly thanks to Natty's increasingly intense style. There was a recap of NBA star Enes Kanter winning the 24/7 title from R-Truth earlier in the night, which Truth quickly won back. And then we got, "We're really glad that you're a friend. This is a friendship that'll never, never, ever, ever, ever end." One of the most interesting Firefly Funhouse episodes in the last few months, Bray was surrounded by all his puppet friends chanting "Stranger Danger" about Stone Cold, with their digital clock being stuck at 3:16. Wyatt eventually snapped and smashed the clock with a hammer, blaming Braun and Seth for invoking the Fiend because the Fiend never forgets. I love how Bray is tying his previous feuds and history into his new character, as WWE just usually ignores context that doesn't serve their current story. But where this gets really interesting is the numbers displayed on the clock after Bray smashed it. 11:19. This could relate to the Bible verse Ezekiel 11:19. "I will give them an undivided heart and put a new spirit in them. I will remove from them their heart of stone and give them a heart of flesh," as Bray's own version of Austin's 3:16 verse. Or it could be a reference to The Undertaker, who debuted on an episode of Superstars on November 19th, 1990. And with Taker being on tonight's SmackDown and Wyatt currently without a cock match, perhaps something will take place between them. And the main event was best described by Renee Young's line, "So many personalities, so many giant men." This was a very fun 10-man tag, weaving multiple storylines and feuds between the various players, with the threat of Bray always looming above them all. And continuing WWE's focus on pushing new stars, Cedric Alexander got the biggest win of his career, pinning AJ Styles in the main event of a Madison Square Garden show for Stone Cold's music to hit. Austin celebrated with the babyfaces afterwards by drinking irresponsibly in the ring. This was a terrific episode, putting the focus on in-ring wrestling with stakes and feuds, and having Bray's Fiend in the background provides a wonderfully unsettling unease about it all, like the calm before a storm. This week's Raw is core. And now over to Laurie with the news.
Thanks, Ollie. Great review, but it's time for the news now, and I'm afraid to say that this news starts off with some rather sad news, because NXT Takeover has been cancelled. No! You monsters! It was so beautiful. I couldn't do it. I'm actually, it hasn't quite been cancelled, but according to some WWE travel package information released yesterday, there won't be a takeover on the weekend of the Royal Rumble in Houston in January 2020. What? Instead, WWE intends to run Worlds Collide like they did at Royal Rumble Access last year, a tournament which had absolutely no consequences, except for sort of casting Luke Harper into a year-long abyss. Oh well, it's fun, I suppose. It crosses all the brands together. Yay! Velveteen Dream, North American champion because of it, innit? But fear not, NXT fans, because NXT TakeOver will be happening in 2020, as WWE told Pro Wrestling Sheet they would have more to announce on the schedule in the future. In fact, according to Figure 4 Online, they are making changes to the pay-per-view schedule across the board. The Rumble weekend is just the start, apparently, changing from the usual 4 shows in one arena, that would be the TakeOver, Rumble, Raw, and then SmackDown, to having SmackDown on the Friday in Dallas, then Worlds Collide and the Rumble in Houston, and then Raw in San Antonio. Sounds like a lot of booking, a lot more for their booking department to do. Speaking of changes to scheduling, that is a spreadsheet-based segue, Impact Wrestling have kind of been a near nomadic presence in the world of wrestling television for a few years now. They've been hopping from network to network to network in search of a new home, like those dogs and that ugly cat in Homeward Bound. Now, parent company Anthem has reportedly just signed a deal to purchase Access TV, so it looks like the moving vans will be called in once again. Or they just strap all the prop set and equipment to Brian Cage and send him off, like he's Boxer from Animal Farm. I will work harder. Impact is always right. Rather obviously, the deal would see Impact leave the pursuit and settle on Access, which is actually kind of great news for the show as it opens it up to even more viewers. There have also reportedly been plans that a secondary Impact show would star on Pursuit as well, a lesser Impact. PW Insider said that they were told that Anthem's purchase won't change NJPW's or Women of Wrestling status on Access either, but you never know. They could always be bumped off air by the impact of Impact. I feel like that's kind of unlikely though, as WoW does share some Impact talent, and Don Callis specifically has been trying to foster a good relationship between Impact and NJPW, especially now that the latter has distanced themselves from Ring of Honor in the US. Someone who isn't trying to foster good relationships is Matthew Riddle, at least not with Goldberg. Now, the Broberg match is something I am very keen on seeing, and something that Matt Riddle seems to be out for if his Twitter antics are anything to go by, or his general antics on WWE TV now. Because Riddle doesn't have many good words to say about the former Universal Champion, and the two apparently had a very tense standoff backstage at SummerSlam, which Riddle detailed on the WWE Watch-Along. He said, in my best Michelangelo impression, "I'm walking by, I see his locker room, I'm trying to get a peek, I'm looking, all of a sudden, hand smack shoulder, big shoulder, 300 pounds at least. I look up, it's Bill Goldberg. He goes, 'We got some talking to do. We can talk anytime.' Yeah, alright bro. You can talk anytime." He's like, "I'm not your bro." I'm like, "Alright bro, take it easy, whatever." He's like, "We'll see. I'll see you later. It was a pleasure meeting you. The pleasure was all mine, bro." Then he's like, "I'm not your bro." And then I walked away. Sounds like a dream he had when he was high. According to Fightful, that conversation wasn't just a bit of theatre to add drama to the watch-along, and it did actually happen. In fact, they say their sources told them that Riddle and Bill did have a conversation at SummerSlam, and they decided to agree to disagree upon the subject of Bill Goldberg being shit, obviously. Another source said that the conversation was filmed just in case, and that Riddle wasn't put on watch-along by accident because WWE knows what it is doing with these two. That same source also said that Riddle got it when it comes to building a marquee match with Goldberg, who apparently is taking the whole thing a bit too seriously, which is actually kind of scary. You should probably watch out, Matt Riddle. You might actually be next. Thank you for watching, and thank you to all of the names scrolling away beneath me for being our awesome pledge hammers on Patreon. Head on over to Screenstalker to see some news on the casting of the Young Avengers in the MCU, and watch yesterday's WrestleTalk news to find out about backstage heat on a top WWE star. I've been El Fakador, and that was Lucha.